Hello students, welcome to the new lecture of solid state. In the previous lecture, we have seen how different types of unit cells are having atoms arranged in these corners or face or at different bodies, right? So, in each type of unit cell, how many atoms are arranged per unit cell we have calculated in the last class. Now, we will move ahead by taking solids and study its imperfections, right? We know so far that in solids, generally atoms or ions are compactly arranged, right? In a long range order. In a crystalline solid, atoms or ions are arranged compactly in having a long range, right? But though you are telling that solids are having perfect arrangement, it is not always the case. Even solids, they are expected to be perfect, but they won't. Even they have imperfections or some defects will be there in its arrangement. Defect in solid or imperfections in solids, right? So, we are going to study what kind of defects are possible in solids, right? If you want to study defects in solid, you can categorize the defects into two types. One is stoichiometric defect and the other is non-stoichiometric defects. Stoichiometric defect means generally in the solids, cations and anions are alternately present, right? In the structure of salts, if you take, suppose this is a piece of NaCl. NaCl has Na plus Cl minus, Na plus Cl minus, Na plus Cl minus, like that they are alternately present in a crystal lattice, and these points are called as lattice points, right? The position of cation is this, followed by anion, cation, anion, right? Like that they are arranged alternately in a crystal lattice, and the points in which atom or ion or molecule is present is called as lattice point, right? So, in the total piece of crystal lattice, if cations and anions are present equally before the defect, their quantities are same as after the defect, right? Defect before the defect took place, suppose if there are 100 cations in the lattice and there are 100 anions in the lattice before the defect, even after the defect also, if their ratios are same, I am not telling that after the defect also ratio remains to be 100 and 100 only, whatever the ratio will be, whatever the number will be, but their ratio will always be same. Cations and anions are always in the same ratio whether the defect took place or not. That type of crystal lattice defect is called as stoichiometric defect. When you come to non-stoichiometric defect, suppose before the defect the solid lattice is expected to have 100 cations and 100 anions, but because the defect took place, their ratio is not 1:1 anymore. Their ratio is not 1:1. Either it becomes 0.9 cations and 1 anion, or anions are less and cations are more. Total number of cations and total number of anions will not be the same after the defect took place, right? That type of defect in which ratios of cations and anions are not exactly the same before the defect and after the defect is called as non-stoichiometric defect, okay? So, now our primary importance should be given to stoichiometric defects, because non-stoichiometric defects are not of that importance, right? In the stoichiometric defect, you can have the defect in two ways. Defects in which stoichiometry is maintained can be having two types: vacancy and interstitial. Vacancy defect and interstitial defect. Vacancy means from its point it is missing, right? Vacancy is, suppose this place is for cation in the lattice, but the cation is missing from its site and the site became vacant. This site was belonging to one cation which is missing and a vacancy got created in the lattice, right? It is not always for cation, the same can happen even for anion. Suppose this lattice or this site is for anion and anion is supposed to be here, but after the defect vacancy got created and that anion is missing from its place, vacancy got created, right? This type of defect in the lattice is called as vacancy defect, in which either the cation or the anion or sometimes both are missing from its places or sites, right? Therefore, if they are missing from their places are becoming vacant and vacancy is getting created, and therefore what happens is sometimes the density of the crystal may change and it may either increase or decrease, but defect has arisen, right? This type of defect is called as vacancy. Interstitial defect means, suppose this is an expected place to be cation, anion alternately, right? What happens is, in the crystal lattice, as the ions are compactly arranged alternating to each other, if the size of the cation is small, as the cation will always be of smaller size, comparatively smaller size of cations, if it is present, then because the size of the cation is very small, it easily comes out of its site or its position and reside in some other position in between other ions. Coming out from its place, it will not go out of the crystal, then where will it be? It will occupy itself in the interstitial position between the other ions. Why can it easily accommodate? Because its size is very small. Even in the interstitial position also it can easily get accommodated because its size is small. Whenever cations is of smaller sizes, this possibility exists, right? So, you can either see vacancy defect or interstitial defect or sometimes both, right? So, now let us study two different types of stoichiometric defect in which you can see vacancy as well as interstitial defect. Those two types of stoichiometric defect is Frenkel defect and Schottky defect. Frenkel defect and Schottky defect, whether the defect is Frenkel or Schottky, but both the defects maintains the stoichiometry of the crystal lattice. Number of cations and anions will be same in Frenkel as well as Schottky defect, right? Coming to Frenkel defect, suppose this is a crystal lattice having alternate arrangement. Right? This is the crystal lattice and each and every space is crystal lattice or crystal lattice point, right? At each point one ion is present and that point is called as lattice point present inside the lattice. If cation, because it is of small size, is coming out from its place and taking some place of interstitial position. Suppose actually there was supposed to be a cation here. It came out from its place and resided somewhere here in the interstitial position or somewhere here in the interstitial position. But what happens to this site is it remains vacant, right? So, actually the expected place of cation was supposed to be here, its lattice point is here, but it is coming out from its point and accommodating somewhere in between in the interstitial position, and only cation can do so, anion cannot do so. Why? Because the size of the anion will always be larger than the cation. So cations only can come out from its place and take the interstitial position, and this type of vacancy is not going to change the density of the solid, because nothing, neither the cation nor the anion, is completely coming out from the crystal. Is it coming out from the crystal lattice? No, it is still remaining in the crystal lattice only, but not sitting at its place, coming in interstitial position, right? This type of defect is called as Frenkel defect. Nothing happens to the stoichiometry of the solid, nothing happens to the density of the solid. It just, what happens is, from its place cation comes out and takes some other place in between or interstitial position. If you notice, if anyone or any ion coming out from its place, a vacancy getting created happens, right? You have seen, if the vacancy is getting created, that defect is called as vacancy defect. That means Frenkel defect shows vacancy defect. You can see a vacancy of the cation here or not? Yes. So vacancy defect is seen. Can you see any ion taking the place of interstitial position in this solid? Yes. The cation is taking interstitial position, right? Actually, no one should be in the interstitial position, but some cation came. Therefore, even interstitial defect can also be seen, right? So, in Frenkel defect, you can see both vacancy as well as interstitial position getting occupied. Therefore, this defect will take place in such a compound in which size of the cation is comparatively smaller. Right? In compounds having small sized cations and large sized anions, such compounds, silver chloride won't do so. Small sized cations and large sized anions will have such type of Frenkel defect, right? Shall we move on to the next defect, which is Schottky defect. Schottky, in the name itself you have the word short, which means shortage. You try to remember Schottky by keeping its meaning with shortage. Some ion is in shortage in the lattice, right? So, with the alternate arrangement of cations and anions, what happens is one ion, not necessary cation or anion, one ion from the lattice will completely come out of the crystal. One ion from the lattice completely comes out from the crystal. If they are coming out from the crystal, a vacancy is getting created. No one is present in interstitial position. Everyone are sitting at their places only. All the lattice points are occupied. No interstitial position is occupied. Lattice points are occupied by the respective ions, but one ion from the lattice point is missing from the crystal itself because it went out of the crystal. There is any shortage of the cations or not? Total number of cations, if it was supposed to be 100, what happened now is cations became 99, right? But I told you, in stoichiometric defect, ratio of cations and anions will be same. So, to maintain the electrical neutrality, if cation went out of the crystal, any anion from the crystal lattice also moves out of the crystal, creating how many vacancy defects? 2 vacancy defects. One vacancy was created by a cation, then other vacancy will get created by anion, right? Because electrical neutrality will always be maintained in these 2 type of defects, because it is a stoichiometric, ratio has to be same. Number of cations and number of anions has to be same whether the defect took place or not. So, even if the defect is taking place, if the cation went out of the crystal, it will be followed by anion. Therefore, two vacancy will be created per defect, one for cation and the other for anion. Is there any interstitial point getting occupied by any ion? No, you will only see vacancy defect in this. You can only see vacancy defect in the Schottky type. Schottky means shortage of cation followed by shortage of anion. If shortage is by anion, it will be immediately followed by cation. If one ion is going out of the crystal, automatically the other also moves from the crystal to maintain the electrical neutrality, and because of this defect, two holes are getting created per defect. That means we can see like this, so many defects can be possible in a small piece of crystal, right? Therefore, because of this defect, the density of the substance decreases. The density of the substance decreases. When will this defect happen? Is whenever a compound having same size or similar size cations and similar size anions, if that is the case, then Schottky defect took place. Because if both the ions are moving out with the same capacity, that means both must have same size. Otherwise, if the size was different, they would not have been going out of the crystal, they would have remained in the interstitial position or somewhere in between, right? So, if both of them are coming out of the crystal, that means both has the same capacity and therefore both has got similar sizes. So, in such compounds, Schottky defect takes place, in which only vacancy is seen, interstitial defect is not seen, right? So, these are two types of stoichiometric defect. Let us now see non-stoichiometric defect. Non-stoichiometric means after the defect ratio will not be same. So, it can also be of two types: metal excess defect and metal deficient defect, right? Metal means metal becomes cation, metal ion with oxide or sulfide or whatever it is, but metal will be becoming cation in the crystal lattice. In the piece of lattice, in the crystal lattice, cations and anions are followed by one after the other, right? In the crystal lattice, if cations are coming out of the crystal but anions are not coming out, they are remaining in their places only. Only cations are leaving the crystal, creating a vacancy at the lattice point. That means vacancy is done only by cations, which is nothing but metal. And that deficiency by metal is called as metal deficient defect. Metal is lesser than the anion. Metal means cation. Cations are lesser than anion. Cations are deficient. Therefore, metal is deficient. This defect is called as metal deficient defect. In the other case, if anions are moving out of the crystal without doing anything to the cations or without changing the places of metal, metal ions will not change their place, will not come out of the crystal, will remain in their lattice points only, and only anions come out of the crystal, thereby creating vacancy only by anions, and metal becomes excess or more than anions. Such type of defect is called as metal excess defect, right? So, these are the defects in solids or imperfections in solids. Please copy this. We will move to the next topic. The next topic in solid states are studying the electrical properties and magnetic properties of solids, right? Let us now first look at magnetic properties of solids, because solids have different nature of magnetism. When magnetic field is applied, different solids behave differently, right? If you try to categorize that magnetic behavior of the solid when subjected in magnetic field, it will fall under any of these 5 categories, right? Solids can be having magnetic nature from any of these 5 categories, right? The first type of solids in which magnetic nature is paramagnetic are nothing but that compounds or that substances which, if you apply magnetic field to the substance, If you apply magnetic field to the substance, in that substance so many unpaired electrons will be there. So many unpaired electrons are already present in the molecule or in the compound. Whenever magnetic field is applied to that substance in which unpaired electrons are there, all the unpaired electrons will align themselves with the magnetic field or along with the magnetic field. If magnetic field is in this direction, you can see that unpaired electrons are also getting aligned along with the magnetic field. In the absence of magnetic field, they will change their alignment. They were randomly arranged. But as soon as the magnetic field is applied, as soon as the magnetic field was applied, they start getting aligned along the magnetic field. Right? If you remove magnetic field, they will again become random arrangement in the absence of magnetic field. So this kind of substances in which the presence of unpaired electron will align themselves along the magnetic field, and in the absence of magnetic field they will again go back to their normal state. That magnetic behavior which is present only in the presence of magnetic field and they will revert back to their normal state is called as paramagnetic substances. Example is oxygen. Example is oxygen molecule, because in which unpaired electrons are present. Coming to the other type of arrangement, the compound or the substances in which unpaired electrons are not present, all the electrons are paired. All the electrons are paired. So even if you apply magnetic field to that substances in which electrons are already paired, even if you apply magnetic field to these substances in which electrons are already paired in the form of opposite spin, the spin gets cancelled and the net magnetic moment experienced by this compound will be zero. Therefore, nothing can happen to their magnetic nature whether you apply magnetic field or not, because they are already having paired spin. Nothing can happen to that spin. Therefore, whether you supply or a magnetic field or not doesn't make any difference on the net magnetic moment felt by the compound. That compounds are called as diamagnetic compounds, in which unpaired electrons are not there. All the electrons are paired. If unpaired electrons are absent, they come under diamagnetic substance. If unpaired electrons are present, they come under paramagnetic substance. Example, all the compounds in which electron is paired. Right? Coming to the next type of compound called as ferromagnetic compounds. Ferromagnetic compounds, if you take that compound, in that compound before applying the magnetic field, some group of atoms or some group of elements are aligned themselves to make small domains. Small domains got created in the compound already. To that compound, if you give magnetic field, to that compound, if you give magnetic field, the domains starts getting aligned along with the magnetic field and their net magnetic field will be increased, right? If they are magnetized, what happens is, each domain, each arrow mark which I am writing in this case is an association of 4 or 5 atoms together, right? 4 or 5 atoms together form one small group called as one domain. Like that, so many domains are there. In the absence of magnetic field, that domains were randomly arranged, but the moment you give magnetic field, all the domains which was randomly arranged starts getting aligned towards the magnetic field or along with the magnetic field. In whichever direction you are giving magnetic field, in the same direction that domains are also getting aligned. Right, that domains get aligned towards the magnetic field. So even if you remove magnetic field now, they will get permanently magnetized. They will get permanently magnetized. When you go for paramagnetic substances, in the presence of magnetic field, they show magnetic nature, but once you remove magnetic field, they will revert back to their normal state. Their magnetic nature is temporary only till the presence of external magnetic field. If external magnetic field is removed, their magnetic nature also will not be present. But ferromagnetic substances, once they get magnetized by an external magnetic field, they will be permanently magnetized. Even after the removal of magnetic field also, their magnetic behavior will not change. Once they get aligned along with the magnetic field, the same alignment continues even after the removal of magnetic field. That compounds are called as ferromagnetic compounds, in which iron, cobalt, nickel, these kind of metals come under ferromagnetic substances. Right? Coming to the next type of substances called as antiferromagnetic. The difference between ferromagnetic and antiferromagnetic is, in the presence of magnetic field, the domains were aligned towards the magnetic field or along with the magnetic field, where in this type of compounds. But in the antiferromagnetic compounds, even there also all the domains which were randomly arranged starts to come along with the magnetic field, but they start getting arranged in the opposite direction. The domains starts getting aligned in the opposite direction. So the net magnetic moment experienced by the substance will be 0. If you give external magnetic field, whatever domains was randomly present in the substance, they start getting aligned, but in opposite direction. If one domain is aligned with the magnetic field, the other domain gets aligned against the magnetic field, then the next with the magnetic field, then the next against the magnetic field. In doing so, the net magnetic moment felt by the compound or felt by the substance becomes 0, and they don't have any magnetic nature. And that compound's example is manganese oxide, right? The domains are oppositely arranged whenever external magnetic field is supplied, giving a net magnetic moment 0, and there is no magnetic behavior for that compounds, right? Coming to the last type of ferrimagnetic compounds. Even in ferrimagnetic compounds also, you will see the same type of domains which are present in the crystal. Once you give magnetic field, once you give external magnetic field, the domains get aligned, but not in the same direction nor in the opposite direction. They are getting aligned without any fixed pattern. Some one or two gets aligned along with the field, then another one or two gets aligned against the magnetic field without following any pattern. Therefore, if you try to cancel out each other, you will be ending up with one or more net magnetic moment. That means ferrimagnetic substances will have some magnetic nature even if you try to cancel out. Suppose I am cancelling downwards, upwards, downwards, upwards, downwards, upwards. What is remaining is upward 1, 2, 3, right? So with the external magnetic field, is it aligned or not? That means some magnetic nature will be there for ferrimagnetic substances, right? But the speciality of ferrimagnetic substance is though it is having some magnetic nature, net magnetic moment is there. Whenever magnetic field is applied, the domains are aligned but not in a fixed pattern. So, some magnetic moment will be left in the solid, but with the removal of external magnetic field, they go back and become paramagnetic substance. Or even if you heat ferrimagnetic compounds, they go back as paramagnetic compounds, right. Therefore, the difference between ferro and ferri is, in the ferromagnetic compound, all the domains are arranged along with the external magnetic field. Once magnetized means permanently magnetized, but ferrimagnetic compound, once magnetized, that doesn't mean they are permanently magnetized. After the removal of external magnetic field, they will go back as paramagnetic substance, or even if you heat ferrimagnetic compounds, they will go back as paramagnetic compounds. Example is ferrite, magnetite, like this, Fe3O4. Such type of compounds shows ferrimagnetic nature, right. So, these are all the magnetic properties of solids. Solid can have any of the 5 magnetic nature. In the exam, they may ask you for 2 marks only these 2 or only these 2, or for 4 marks they may ask all the magnetic properties of solids, right. So, this is very important question. Please read thoroughly by understanding. Please copy the diagrams and let us meet in the next class.